And welcome everybody to a special edition of the Crochet Crowd here live. It's not really Loose Ends Thursday, it's more Sticky Bottoms Wednesday. And I have some YouTube hosts that are joining me today that I don't know very well. So why not get to know them live on camera, because that's when all the shit goes downhill. And I think it's a great opportunity to be able to chat with these people. So I had an opportunity to meet these two during a Christmas special that Michael with the headphones had on. And I really have never met YouTube hosts that are so laid back to be able to be themselves on camera. And we had so much of a riot. 2 in the morning on a Christmas Eve. Was it Christmas Eve, Michael?
It was Christmas Eve.
Yeah. And so Daniel's like, are you going to bed already? I'm like, I'm having too much fun. Meanwhile, a bottle and a half or wine later, I was still having fun. So I'd like to introduce, we'll start with the best first. And we have Andrea. You know her as Ola Joe, the crochet sailor, and she'll tell you about a bit about her background and more today. I don't know anything about her, so it's a learning experience. And then we have Michael MDL. They're both from the US. He's somewhere in the US as well. And I think his specialty is Tunisian. So welcome, guys. And
thank you for having us.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll start with, so Andrea is Ola Joe. And so if your name is Andrea, why are you online as Ola Joe?
That's a wonderful question. Well, I really wanted Ola Joe. And the reason why I picked that name is because my grandmother taught me how to crochet. She was a really, really rich inspiration in my life. And I thought, okay, well, I can dedicate my channel to her by using Ola. But I said I didn't want to leave my mom out. And her name was Joanne. They called her Joe for short. So what I did was I combined the two and I said, okay, well, I can start a channel called Ola Joe. Well, you know how we do the little search. So I put the name in the search bar and I said, I made this name up. How can there be other Ola Joes? And there were some other Ola Joe channels. So I said, okay, well, I needed to add something that was unique to myself. And since I am retired from the United States Navy, I said, I'll put the Crocheting Sailor. And voila, I am Ola Joe, the Crocheting Sailor.
And so you're carrying your grandmother and your mom and you together into your YouTube channel and your online experience.
Yes, and my journey. Yes.
That's amazing. That's really cool that you've done that. Like, you really are thinking about your past that's putting you in your present moment.
Yes. My grandmother taught me how to crochet at 7. So I crocheted off and on during that time. But once I joined the military, I had to put it down for a while because did a lot of traveling and a lot of deployments. But I picked it up because one young lady said, well, you crochet. I want to know if you can make a baby blanket for me. I'm about to give birth. She was a nice young sailor. And I said, well, why not? So I made her one blanket and it just took off from there. My interest peaked and I've been crocheting ever since.
So when you gave her the blanket, like, what was that moment that you just said, I'm onto something, like with the interest?
Well, I was at the time I was doing a lot of volunteerism. That was most of my background in the service was volunteering. And I thought it would be great to help young sailors and help young women that are with child in their upward mobility and something to help them, build them up. And I thought that blanket was something that really helped her.
Wow. Yeah. So we have our other YouTube host, Michael. He's the one that he's been, both of these people are actually part of my own membership on YouTube. So you've probably seen their names. So you can always tell who's on a membership on our channel by their, there's an emoji beside their name. So they're part of the membership. So that's how I got to know Michael, because he's usually on the back end. Oh, yeah, I think that might be the right word for him. I think I determined during Christmas who's who with him and his husband. And so I know both of these guys from the back end of our YouTube channel, literally. So Michael, Tunisian, what's going on with that?
Well, I started regular crocheting when I was 14. I'm 47 now. My grandmother taught me. And I was doing it, joined the military like Ola Joe. We're both sailors. I was a more combat medic oriented, so I didn't have a lot of time. And then after I got out, from all the junk we put our bodies through, I had to find some way to help block the pain. So I went back to crochet. I'd say about 14 or so years ago, I got tired of the gaps that crochet creates. And
what's that mean?
Just the hole, the little gaps between each stitch. You know what I mean?
Oh, that. Okay. I was thinking more metaphorically.
Oh.
Andrew, the same way.
And I wanted something warm. And I just Googled. And I saw this picture of the simple stitch. And I'm like, what is that? And then 14 years ago, that was all it took. And I have rarely done regular crochet since. And I've learned about 418 Tunisian stitches. And I want to teach them all. Because they're not out. A lot of these stitches aren't out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to create a library. I don't care if it's on my channel or somebody else's. I just wanted to create a library where all these stitches were. I took months just to find even just one stitch. It takes several months because you're having to dig through old online libraries from Cold War countries and then having to translate. And I love that aspect of it, of bringing those stitches out and back. There's been a few other YouTube hosts or channels that have helped me. I had one called Miss C's Cottage. She sent me a book that had 3 stitches in it that have not seen the light of day since 1891.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to figure out one because the terminology has changed so many times since 1891. And I brought one of them back, and the other 2 I'm getting it closer and closer each time I pick it up. But then I have to put it back down because it starts frustrating you. So it's got to go in the back burner for a while. And I just wanted all that in one place. I love Tunisian.
Mm-hmm. So you like playing with a long stick, essentially.
Yeah.
You know that's coming somewhere.
I knew that was coming.
Maybe. What's your advice? So Tunisian, I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it because I always brush up. Do you Tunisian, Andrea?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you can be part of this conversation as well. I always scuff the last stitch that is on my yarn or on the hook because my hand keeps running into the edge. The one side of my Tunisian always looks like shit. So because it's being scuffed all the time. Like, what's your advice for that?
I don't run into that problem. I don't really like. It's the way I hold my needle. Right here.
Andrea, do you have any comment while he's digging?
Well,
I always hold it like this. I don't touch my end.
Right. Well, I was thinking, Mikey, maybe you might want to try and see if you can hold your hands and hold it a different way.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe it's how you're holding your piece. Right.
Yeah, my husband holds it like this, so it'll rub. Adjust. I hold it like that. I hold it with my fingers. Because back in the Navy, when I wasn't doing other stuff, I was in the operating room, and I did a lot of microsurgery, so I got used to doing things with my fingertips.
Okay, wait.
Okay.
But it's only 9:30 Eastern. Let me just get my head out of the gutter.
Hey, Mikey. Nope, not today.
Nope. And she's flashing here, girls. So you're both then retired from the military. What brought you to the military? Because I've never been part of that part of life, but everybody, I was telling Andrea before we went to broadcast, like everybody I know here is related or part of the Canadian Army because of our Air Force base here and the different bases that are surrounding us, including Karen is part of the active armed forces. So what brought you to wanting to be part of that? We'll start with Andrea.
For me, I really wanted to finish my education because I got sidetracked, and I thought that would be a perfect avenue to get me jump started. So I said, and plus, I want to serve my country. And I really, really do. I know a lot of people say, you're just saying that. And people used to say that when I was serving. And I'm like, no, I grew up patriotic. I really am a patriotic person. So I went in, I said I was going to do 4 years and then finish, right? And before the 4 years was up, they offered me a bonus if I signed on for an extra year. So I said, okay, well, I'll do 5. And then it grew on me. And I have been in ever since. Yeah, I loved it.
What's been the most impactful moment for you, Andrea, in serving? What is there ever like you think about the time that you put in? Is there ever just one moment that you said you were in the right place at the right time?
Oh, I have a lot of those situations. Yes. And one would be my service at working for the chaplain. Okay, I am not a what do you call it? I can't think of the name of the rating name. Michael, if you could help me.
RP,
RP. Yes, that's
religious
religious
petty
petty
officer.
officer. Right. And I didn't sign up as a religious petty officer. I am actually an operations specialist. So I work in combat. I do all of that kind of stuff with all the big screens and, flashing lights and stuff like that. But anywho, another story for another time. But anyway, I was tagged to actually work with the chaplain because they had a sailor that didn't open up for church services and just wasn't there. Okay, so he needed a little bit of grooming and he didn't have discipline. He didn't have a supervisor or support. So basically, I stepped in. And to me, I felt like that was the most impactful and rewarding experience. One of is because I got to meet and work with people from all different faiths, people from all different races and backgrounds and age groups, civilian, military, and also dealing with burials and funerals. I set up for Jewish, Muslim, Catholic service, and I can go on and on about that. But in a nutshell, that was very impactful. And I think I really was able to help people and spread love and cheer and pray with people. And also we had a food pantry. So we actually picked up donations. We picked up donations from our local commissary, and we fully stocked a pantry for those that were in need, whether they were civilian or our sailors and soldiers.
Wow. So, and here you are as a YouTube host, then carrying on in a different, completely path, but still serving to provide a piece of yourself to others.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
I think that's what I live
like
for.
You were meant in this lifetime to be that support.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes it gets a little rough and tough emotionally, because we carry it in. You guys can chime in, but that emotion gets heavy. And sometimes we have to lay it and put it aside and just come to terms with ourselves. I meditate and I do things like that to just get myself back on track. And then I pull myself up by my bootstraps and I get back in and put out content, edit and do all the things.
So, Michael, what about you? Like, what is there been ever a defining moment in your military life that you knew you were in the right spot at the right time?
Can I answer somebody's question real quick?
Sure.
Regarding the Tunisian curling, it's going to happen because you're working one side of the project. There are a few anti-curling stitches, but it's going to curl because you're working at one side of the project and the tension just pulls that project. So just deal with it after. Blocking, wet blocking, or steam blocking. I joined in 96. For me, it was, I grew up dirt poor. So it was one of those outs for me. And in 96, there was nothing going on. So went to medic school, did all the surgical stuff. And then there was times that I was in the right place at the right time either coming on base or going off base with car accidents, or helping. I got a scar in my eyebrow because it's the aspect of child labor. It makes me pass out. And I was a paramedic in my ambulance, and it's very complicated. And granted, I got through it, and then I passed out, hit the gurney. But there's been a few times that I realized if I wasn't there, that person wouldn't be here. Other than, I mean, like, I didn't get to do all, I mean, that was my aspect, was all medical. Whereas, Andrea was in other aspects of the military life. So, we saw different things and interacted totally differently with the military community. I hope that answered it.
So you were there at the right. So then what brought you to wanting to be on a YouTube channel, from going from that kind of lifestyle to this? Because it's very different.
And it is very different. Now, it was late 2024. Because my channel just barely hit a year. I'm on my 13 months now of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like early November of 2024 or 2020. I don't remember now. 2023. Yeah.
There's not a test date, so just keep going.
I was talking with my husband. I was like, look, I know all these stitches. I just want to teach them.
Yeah.
I want to get them out there, get them all under one umbrella and make them easy to find. And I literally did a lot of research. I looked at other channels to see how they did things that I liked and how they did things I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put all that together and kind of molded my channel around that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did veer off of that a little bit, but I brought myself right back. And then, like Andre was talking about, having to, us as creators or hosts, there is a lot of pressure put on us. A lot of it we put on ourselves too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We set deadlines and set schedules, and then we're busting our rear ends to meet those deadlines, meet those schedules. And it's very hard. And it puts a lot of pressure and stress on ourselves. I just got to where just recently this year is like, well, if it comes out, it's going to come out. I quit setting, this is when it's going to come out. This is when it's, I quit setting those dates. And then there's a lot of backlash we feel that a lot of people don't see that we go through.
Mm-hmm.
They the emails, the hateful emails, even the nice emails too. They're really, the nice ones are the ones that keep you going.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hateful ones you just delete. But there's just a lot of it that a lot of people don't get to see that we go through. And we purposely, I don't want to say purposely, but we're put in those situations. We deal with it and we move on and we put on our face, as you say.
Mm-hmm. So I think for me, like when the email gets a little rough, which it does, I don't actually, let's get a little bit more deeper into the shit. Sorry, this is the way I speak. I find as a YouTube host, and I have a representative in Canada for YouTube because I'm as big as I am. And the biggest discussion behind the scenes is the creator's mental health. And I find with myself, and I will try to hold myself together, but I find the US election year the hardest years ever on YouTube every friggin' time. And I don't know how to deal the cards on that, because when I know it's coming, I just get into a panic mode, the death threats and everything that comes through YouTube. And even though we have our filters in place, it sneaks through.
Mm-hmm.
And do you guys get that kind of content, like that kind of reactions?
I don't, because I don't talk politics or religion or drama on my channel. If somebody brings it up, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't want that associated with what I'm trying to create. Now you do have the diehards that want it on there, and they'll create, whatever they got to do to try to get their name seen so they can create the drama or whatever. I just don't deal with it. My beliefs are my beliefs. I'm not gonna listen to somebody else's belief because it may be totally opposite than I am. So, and especially here in the U.S. culture, it's everybody has their belief, and it may be right or wrong, and it's just I stay away from it because it's ruined families
Oh my
down
God.
here.
The social media culture is ruining families. What about you, Andrea?
I don't do politics. Yeah.
So,
I,
so
I want people to know when they come to my live streams or they come to my channel, it is a happy place. I
mhm,
have created a happy place and I want to keep it that way. Now,
mhm,
I will do religion and I'll say, please pray because I am a religious person and I do have a religious background,
mhm.
but that's not also the main drive for my
Mhm.
channel. My channel is not about that, but we can talk about prayer for a sec, and
Yeah,
especially, with disasters and things of that nature. But as far as politics go, keep it to yourself.
Yes.
especially here in the U.S. because people they'll sell their grandmother just to get their point across.
Yeah.
You
Well, I
can
think
say it other ways, but
everybody's
YouTube would
pretty,
censor those words.
no, I think everybody's pretty passionate. I think that's the right word.
Yeah.
And
Passionate. Great word.
passionate and really, because it feels like difficult times at times, because I'm just thinking, like, I've been on YouTube since 2008, and God, Karen just rejoined YouTube as she's taken like several years break, and just her seeing the behind the scenes of what YouTube is today compared to where she left it off in 2016, so much has changed in the platforms and the way that things operate behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Yes.
What's been uh, what's been the best change that YouTube has made over the years for you?
I haven't been doing this long. I mean, a year and 1 month.
You've
So
Wow.
only
it's
been
been
doing this, and you're on my channel as a guest. Okay, thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. Where's my ex?
Well, I've been on since 2019 and I have noticed a lot of changes.
Mhm.
One would be the community tab, which is now posts, which
Yes.
actually changed for quite a few content creators a while ago, but some people it's just catching up, right?
Yeah.
And you remember they allowed, after you had so many subscribers or whatever, they allowed people to actually post, even though they didn't really have much content. So I noticed that change. That
Mhm.
was kind of a good one because that gave them an avenue or a platform. If they weren't putting out content like we all do on a regular basis, they could still chit chat and share. So
Yes.
that was one. Mhm.
Yeah. There's. I used to love way back. This is how old I am. You guys are probably still in Pampers, but um, I was uh, I was thinking about. I remember. Just hang on one second. I remember that YouTube at one point you could change your whole channel, and the background could be a whole image. And do you remember that? Like, and you had like,
almost MySpace-ish.
yeah,
Oh,
I like that. And then you could get templates and then point to arrows, and it would all change. But everything is so interactive and being able to size to a phone today. So what you do on one platform is completely different on the other.
Mm.
hmm.
I think that's the so my biggest thing that I think I struggle with the most is that the consumer has to understand how to use the platform. And that's the biggest driver of the problem for
Yes.
YouTube, right? How to navigate. And then somebody will say, well, I can't find you here. And I'm like, well, are you on a phone? Are you on a desktop? Are you on a thing? Because they're all three different platforms.
Hmm.
Exactly. And it's even for us for the when we look at our backstage stuff, when we go to pull it up on the website in our studio, we get one thing. We pull it up on our phone on the app. It's different, and it actually gives us more information Like one gives us some information of some stuff, the other, like the webpage, you give us other information that's not on there. It's like, what? Just integrate the two. I shouldn't have to look at two pages really for my studio just to find out all the information I want to find out.
Now, there was a thing many years ago where they said you should not be embedding your videos onto a website. And so that was a whole stink, but it turns out it's the best thing for you. That's why we embed stuff. And so there's a lot of misinformation that happens. Like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And I had a YouTube host. Okay, she's not looking at me. She says, don't do this. And it turns out I should have done that, but she was literally leading me off a cliff so that I never did that. And so it's really difficult, especially to find like a mentor in this whole area of what you should or shouldn't do.
It really is. And for me, I'm glad who's been helping me learn a lot, and I've been following his advice, is Craig Fiber Spider.
Mm-hmm.
He has helped me a lot understand, pretty much the basics of being a YouTube creator and what I need to do, what needs to stand out, what doesn't need to stand out, and that has helped me. Literally, I have gained 30,000 subscribers in the past 2 months from taking his suggestions, and his advice to heart.
So, Andrea, I think we need to hit this bitch up later because we need 30,000 subscribers.
I know, right? Exactly. I can take a few. I am really, yes, I'm ready. I'm always ready to grow. I want to grow something, so.
But for somebody with anxiety like me, like, I'm glad I'm not hosting this, because if I was hosting this, you get that little eyeball in the corner that's up in here somewhere on your side, Mikey, that tells you how many people are watching you.
Okay.
On the StreamYard.
I don't pay attention to that.
Oh, it blares out to me because it's red, and it just tells me, it messes with my anxiety. So, and then seeing these numbers increase like that, my anxiety is going off. So I don't really look at that anymore, because it helps with my anxiety. And then I do vertical lives on my phone because I don't see the numbers of people, how many people are watching me.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I had to change for myself, because I was going off over the edge, just ask Daniel, is that I had a third monitor. I have 2 monitors plus my phone and an iPad, and I had a third one that has analytics all day, every day. And it would actually show the analytics of my website and where people are on the website, what they're clicking and stuff. And it was all real time. And it was just to the point where, why am I failing? Why am I failing? Because I have a projection that I want, which is not very high. But then I realized that this monitor sitting on my desk is literally the tool that's kicking my ass and just dragging me into the toilet.
Yes.
Right.
I used to do that. It had the numbers just staring at me, because I have 3 monitors, and I just got to where that the one that was showing me, that was staring at me, it's gone now. It just has my spreadsheet of I have all the stitches that I know how I want them to come out and when they're going to come out. Like, I'm scheduled literally on that on that Excel spreadsheet out till February of 2031. That's how many stitches I have.
Look at Mikey's face.
Andrea, overachiever.
I know,
Well, I gotta organize it so that way I don't do the same stitch twice. Because some of these will.
Yeah, you know what I've learned through my YouTube representative? Oh, she's. Oh my God, that's so much fun. I have learned that even if you do the same video twice, it's actually beneficial.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I know, because times change. Because you look at the original videos of my channel, they're really blurry because over time they blur out for whatever reason. But then you leave those because, oh my God. So I was at this YouTube conference. It was my first one I ever went to. And I'm the queen shit there, like just whatever. Turns out I'm nobody. And and I'm like, so what's the strategy to remove a video? And I never seen so many people suck in air. And even the YouTube people, for representatives that came in from Toronto, and they like, you never take out a video of YouTube, never. And I'm like, well, what if the video is like outdated? You've grown in your skills. Like you're a better host than you were 10 years ago. Don't you want people to run into that video? And they said, well, that video already has clout. So you never want to take that out. And I'm like, oh, because I have removed thousands of videos over the years.
Mm.
You know, because I don't want people to come onto a channel where I am so new at this thing and I'm scared on camera and I look scared and I act scared, that I don't want that to be the first impression.
Well, that I'm refilming a lot of my beginning. Well, I'd say like 20 of my first stitches because I didn't know anything about angles. You know, it was just my phone like this.
Oh,
and I'm just like that, you know, stitching like that. That's what it was. And I didn't know, you know, if you need to do it like eye view, so they see it, but I didn't know all that. So the first 20 I'm redoing, but I'm just retitling the old ones as putting old. Because Craig told me never to remove a video.
Well, then Craig never gave me, well, I don't know Craig at all. People think I'm Craig. But now that I met Craig on your live, like we're completely different people. He is funny as shit. Like really.
He is a hoot.
A ball of laughs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even when we're texting late night, because we're both night owls, so we're texting back and forth. Especially when I'm trying to film, and he wants to text, so I got to stop filming, you know. And he's that way even in text. It comes across when you're reading it in his voice and his demeanor and everything.
Wow. So, Andrea, what about you? Like, as far as like he's talking about angles, mine sits just me. I feel like a doctor because I'm looking through my monitor of my phone to see my hands, which is a pain in the ass, especially if I'm sewing something. What's been your secret to filming?
I film like this, parallel, you know, like straight up and down. I think this is best, but I will also say that it's very important to make sure you have the right closeness if you're going to be doing a tutorial or showing your hands. And when I first started, I had to learn that, you know, because it wasn't right, you know, and things may not have been too clear. I used the wrong yarn. It's like certain yarn there are certain yarns you should not use on camera because they don't look well. So I make sure that I have the right height for the closeness. People can see what I'm doing. And I make sure when I line everything up that I look in the camera myself and I can tell whether or not the yarn is correct, positioning is good, if everything is in frame, all of that stuff counts.
Absolutely. When I first joined Red Heart back into that, so I did a testing trial for Red Heart in 2012 to see if I was going to be an okay host. And so we did that, and they said, okay, we're going to hire you. So you have to wait a year before you go on because things take time for budgeting and stuff. And they said, but your background needs to be white. You need to have a sound system. You need to do all of this. No, because Michael, this is back in 2000, like over 10 years ago, where literally you still had the old phone, like you still had a camera. Like,
yeah, those cameras. Okay.
Yeah, you still had this antique crap now. And so, and these things, this was my fourth camera, actually. It was a great camera. The problem is that I had to put it up over top of my head in order to make it happen. And so what I had to do when I started filming verticals, I had to put these elastics on so that I would stay within the center of the camera.
Oh, wow.
Or I'd have to turn the camera sideways, right? And oh my God, look at the dust on this thing. So anyway, so But the problem is that these cameras could not really pick up the light, so they made me have a white background with a sound system. And so some of the stitch alongs that they had me do, that it was white yarn, and I'm like, I really shouldn't be filming white yarn on a white background. And they said you can't deviate, and that was one of the biggest problems for me. So I changed mine to a wood background because they're no longer really taking my videos. But the wood, red never films well, ever, right?
Now, red is not good.
Red and pink.
I found one red that actually films well, and I've used the rear end out of it. And it's the
what?
I have used it a lot, and it's the Mainstays red.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it about this red that's making it film okay?
I have no idea, but it's the roughest stuff to ever work with.
Oh, maybe that's good. Well, if it's rough, then okay, give it the mustache tease. You're good at that. See. No, you gotta grab it.
But no, this is the only red that I have found that has come out really, that comes out good.
So Mainstay, Sue is asking, Mainstay is actually is a private label for Walmart. Yes.
Yes.
That's correct. So, okay, so we got our filming and stuff. What is, when you film, like I usually film just about mid-morning to just after lunch and stuff, because I find it's a good time for me. What's the best time to film for you? And this goes to both of you. We'll start with Andrea.
Well, for me, first of all, I am not a morning person. Now, I fake it till I make it. I mean, you remember I said 30 minutes, right? You said 30 minutes to wave that magic wand. And so I also had to make sure that I woke up too. But afternoon, anytime in the afternoon or evening is best for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have a family and stuff that you have to worry about?
Oh, yes. Mr. Sailor. I'm a caregiver for Mr. Sailor. So, and he has dementia. He is also a retired Navy sailor. So that is like my main priority and my main goal. Now, I will say, just for history's sake, when I first started my channel, he was fine. He was okay. And then he declined. And then so I became a caregiver. And I take care of him, and I still manage my channel and be a content creator.
It's not funny, haha, but it's kind of funny in the sense that you went and served the military, you then jumped into this whole thing, and then you're going to have people online attack you or say negative content. But meanwhile, your own personal life, you have bigger fish to fry at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight.
It is. And I have battled with it. I've actually talked to, some of my counterparts and my family, and I said, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do my YouTube channel. It can remain whatever tutorials and content, but maybe I should just step away and just let it go. And they said no. Even Mr. Sailor said, people love your show and they like your content. You need to keep putting it out. So that was kind of a motivational thing. And I just push myself to put out content as much as I can. I try to put out a video every day, but it is hard. And like Michael says, I do have a list. He has a spreadsheet, but I haven't gotten there yet. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a list and I'm checking it off, but I have so many tutorials, so many videos and stuff that I want to put out, but I just have to put out what I can in the amount of time that I have in a day.
The hardest restriction for me on YouTube is that you're only allowed to put one piece of content every 24 hours. And the problem with us on the YouTube channel is that, and it's only really in our art industry, depending on your task, but a left hand and a right hand video are considered two pieces of content, and it interferes with each other. on the YouTube platform. And so then, well, they're saying, well, you can get a second YouTube channel, but then you got to log out of one just to get into the other, and the conversations are flying between the two channels. Then you have to have a music license for both of them that you got to pay for. And so I find it's a real struggle because I cannot, maybe Andrea, maybe I'm a typical man, I can't do two things at one time. It's just I find it too overwhelming to maintain two properties, because you got a website, you got Facebook, which Wendy handles, we got Instagram, you know what I'm saying? There's so much stuff.
Yeah, there is so much to it. Like, a lot of people don't understand the behind the scenes, how much it takes to run, because we are creating a business. We're creating an image, and how much it takes to create that image. It's just not YouTube, it's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's, if you want to try the clock app, TikTok. You know, I don't do that.
The clock app?
The clock app, TikTok, TikTok,
Oh,
TikTok.
Oh,
yeah, Andrea, went over my head too.
I know. I was like, oh.
And there's a lot that we have to do. And we take one, let's just say, what are they called? Thumbnail. You got to make like 4 versions of it because you got to put it on at different platforms.
Exactly. So my good friend Jackie here locally, I go to the spa every other week because I have an issue that she takes care of. And so we won't get into that. But anyway, so she's trying to get her platforms. And I said, you got to create a separate piece of content for Instagram, YouTube, your website. And I said, you can't use the same content. So she's getting all these violation strikes because she's doing it on one, downloading it, putting it to the other. And I said, as soon as you get the TikTok logo on a YouTube platform, you are done.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think it's really difficult in business, that it's getting so much more difficult that you have to be all of these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a woman in Michigan, sometimes Texas. She goes back and forth. She comes north during the summer. But anyway, she was a special needs teacher, so she handles all of our closed captioning to do that. And I realized that you never put a video on in the world if it's not closed captioned, because I've been very fortunate to have met her and to be able to comp her in a small way for that kind of work. But, you know, there's another thing on YouTube. Like, if you don't have the closed captioning, then it's a problem.
Oh, wow.
I would say, yeah. I haven't had that yet.
Oh. Okay, all of a sudden I'm sitting alone here in Nova Scotia. But I had somebody that was deaf that just really jumped on me for that way. And yet in Canada, it's not a requirement. But in Canada, we have what is called the Accessibility Act, where on our website, we cannot do so many things that Americans can do on their websites. And because of that, we have a boring website because we are complying with the Canadian Accessibility Act, which is making it very clean looking, but then it's not as fun. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. My biggest worry on YouTube, which I keep going after them about, is that in Canada here, you may never put writing on top of a picture, that unless there's unless there's blank space beside the object, or you put a box behind there, because then somebody with a visual issue cannot see it. And I always have in the back of my brain that YouTube is going to have to comply one day, and that all of our video thumbnails that we have are literally going to be non-compliant.
Probably.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Look at you two. Well, we're not Canadian. We don't need to worry about it, but I do worry about that kind of stuff because we do have more laws that are more applicable to the disabled and to the accessibility. Right.
Well, that's why I, like, whenever I'm doing my tutorials, I am a repetitive teacher. I teach repetitively, because that's just the way I learn. And that's the way a majority of the world learns. So I zoom in pretty well too, so you could see where I'm going. So if you can't hear what I'm saying because you have a hearing impairment, you could still see what I'm doing. And I'm going nice and slow. Otherwise, if I was going to go my normal speed, nobody would be able to see it. And I just go nice and slow. And I do that on purpose because if I was learning, that's how I would have loved to have been taught.
Yes. So I find with myself is that I sometimes speed through too quickly. But then my argument to that is that as I have grown, so is the community. So there are so many people that are back from when I was, skinny, and they have grown with me and they're kind of used to my speed, where you get a new person that comes along and just wants to tear the whole room down. So I find it's like, well, if you want a slower video, we have that choice. One of the biggest changes that I really disliked about YouTube is that they no longer let you put a link on a short video, like the short reels.
Oh,
That
Oh
is
yeah.
such a pain in my ass.
Somebody, Sue on Facebook was asking, has running a YouTube business has taken away just jump to passion and pleasure and just sitting and crocheting for you? Do you still want to do it for fun occasionally?
That's directed at you, Andrea.
now say that again. Okay, because I thought it was for Mikey, and I was trying to figure out
Has
what.
it keeps jumping.
Oh,
Ha,
sorry.
has running the YouTube channel businesses taken away from the passion or pleasure in just sitting and crocheting for you? Do you still want to just do it for fun occasionally?
Oh, yes. I started my YouTube channel for fun. It was a fun thing, and I just wanted to teach people how to do the basics of crochet, and I needed to find a platform to do that. And I said, well, why not YouTube? And so I have some rough pink yarn video tutorials, doing the single crochet, double crochet, just all the basic stitches. But I never wanted to start the YouTube channel as a business. That was not my thing. I didn't even start my channel for monetization. I didn't even know what monetization was when I first started. My goal was to teach people the basics of crochet because they wanted to know how to make a blanket and make a hat and make the things that I was making at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in all fairness, yes, I was not going down the rabbit hole with a business and actually trying to work again. I had just recently retired, so I wanted to have fun. My channel is fun, and I want to keep it that way. Now it has grown into a business, of course, because I monetize. I have members of my channel and things of that nature. But yes, that I'll leave it there for me.
So, Michael, what about you?
It's not like for me. It's even though I'm doing it for a tutorial, it's still enjoyable. I don't sell my stuff. Because then I think then I'm obligated. Then it becomes not fun. Now it becomes a job, and I don't want to ruin my hobby and my enjoyment and my escape from the real world because I want to make money off of it.
Yeah.
A lot of my tutorial items, I have members of my channel. I'll randomly pick and ask their address, and that's where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to keep a lot of the stuff, I'll give it to my members, or I've donated it.
Yeah. Well, I love my YouTube channel, and yes, it's still fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I started in 2019, it's still fun. I mean, I'm having fun with you all here. So it's great. I love it because we get to talk to people from all around the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's being invited up on a panel or just being in live chats.
So I will add my perspective. So you really honestly started, this goes to both of you, you honestly started YouTube channel without the intention of like making money?
That is correct. Yes, for me,
Yeah.
definitely. I wanted to do it because it was fun and it gave me something to do after I retired. And that's the God honest truth.
And me as a disabled veteran, I get in my mind a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The dark spaces, and I don't want to be there, and the channel has helped me stay out of those.
Yes. And I'll chime in with that before you say anything, Mikey. I'm also a disabled veteran. So, yes, mental health.
Yes.
I do go and see mental health. I know that'll be a whole nother topic, and we can talk about that probably on another show. But yes, I go to mental health, and I get my therapy, and I deal with certain disabilities,
Yes.
but I keep it moving. I don't let it hold me back.
Exactly. Like I have a degenerative nerve condition that gets worse and more. It's just it gets worse, and it's now spread to the other leg, and I have an implanted spinal. What is it called? Spinal pain stimulator, and I can control it. And there's just days it doesn't work, and but crocheting and filming and all that keeps my mind off of that and keeps me out of my dark space. So I believe, and I'm a firm believer, that crochet is great mental therapy.
It is for sure. I also, because I'm so like, I've been around since YouTube was a dinosaur. Um, but I like, there was no monetization when I started, and so it
Mm,
was never the intention. I was just really lonely, and so I lived in a small little community that doesn't want you there because of who you are,
yes.
and my personal life was in the gutter. Like, it was just a bad. And so the only time I ever crocheted as a teenager, as well as into my adult years, is when I was digging through my own mind, trying to pull myself together. And one of the stories that I will share with you, because I think I can, is that, so my last relationship ends up in the skids. And so I did not realize that my last partner was playing with other people.
Mm.
So I went on a date after that relationship had split. This is just before I met Daniel. And the guy said that he was already in my house. And I'm like, I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. And it turns out to be a mess,
Mm.
right? So I had an active plan. This is really deep shit. So I had an active plan to finish myself off. So um, I came home from work and I said, this is my night to go. And I'm gonna have, I'm a cheap drunk. So like a beer for me is good enough to turn off my emotions, to turn off any kind of sense. And I literally was in my kitchen drinking my beer. I had laid out plastic wrap into the basement. I got my cord and everything ready to go. And I went back into the kitchen and I looked up into the ceiling. I'm not religious. And I said, if this is not my time to go, you need to reveal yourself, because I am lost. And so my YouTube channel is just a year old at this point, and I am a wreck. And I kid you not, a friend knocked on my door with supper in hand. He goes, I was thinking of you.
Oh,
Oh
And it's
wow.
like, holy shit. Like, if there's ever a moment when you realize that there is that moment of, okay, you're meant to hold on. It was that moment for me. And it's like, so YouTube for me was trying to pull myself through the ending of a relationship, like the kind of the downslip of that. But then coming to the realization once that relationship finished is that I was left holding all these cards that I didn't understand that was going on. And I met Daniel the next day.
Oh
wow.
wow.
And it was like, holy shit. It's just like everything just kind of progressed itself. And so I find with the YouTube world is that your personal life does get over into it, because you do share a bit and people see
It
things.
it really does. Like I've shared on my channel. There was literally a couple months before I started my channel. I was that close doing the same thing. Um, Thankfully, my husband saw it because I wasn't telling nobody. And YouTube. As soon as I started my channel, my mental health went a different way, and it's been great since. And I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help, as a male and as a gay male, as a male, we're told to bottle those feelings up. Men don't cry, men don't do any of this, or men don't ask for help. And so we have that, and then we're on top of that, we're gay men, so we have all the other extra pressure on top of it too, which just compounds, and then PTSD, you name it, just compounds onto it. And
Mhm.
there's when you ask for help, you get laughed at.
Mhm. Do you have any context, Andrea, for this topic?
Oh, I have plenty, but I didn't want it to be a crying moment. But I will say this in short. I did try to kill myself. I've been there. I've been there, done that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad, but I feel like I'm just glad that I found the will to live, if you will. I'm
Yes.
really, really happy because I could have been gone because I took my own life. And then when my mom died in 1999, she died at 54. And I just thought that I wasn't going to live past 54. And December of last year, I turned 55. So I was like, I made it. I made it. The reason why I push through and I say I have to be here and live, and that's for a number of reasons. And I will say this: I have family and I have friends. I have you all. I have 5 grandchildren, and I have a lot more to give. So I have to stay
Mm-hmm.
strong and I have to push through because I feel like people that may watch us or view us or listen to us, we're an inspiration for them. So I can't take myself out of the equation because we are a major piece of the puzzle for people from all over around the world. And some we may never, never know. But I
Absolutely.
get a lot of comments like that. And
Mhm.
that's what keeps me going. And that keeps me here.
So, directed at both of you, then, social media today. Do you think social media has been a good change? Because I'm a kid of the '80s, so we you have to knock on the door if you want to go play with somebody. You have to be in before the lights go out in the streets. Do you think that social media has been a help or it's been a hindrance?
I'll start first by saying I feel like it's a hindrance. It can be helpful in a lot of ways
Mhm.
as far as the informative aspect of it, right? Information, communication. It's great, but it's all in how everyone uses it. And
Mm-hmm.
people don't use it wisely.
Well,
So I feel
yeah.
like it kind of takes away, especially to me with the younger generations, they they're using the computer, they're using all of these different devices and things like that, but they're not going into the library like we were, not as much anyway, because they can get all of that online. So
Yeah, but it's you say that, but then I look at some of my email that I get. I'm like, your library is right here.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're asking that question. Your library is right here. And it's like, and God, I would have killed for
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, I
Like,
totally would have.
for me, I think like Wendy said, it's a double-edged sword because it can be very informative and helpful. There's a great YouTube channel out there. Uh, he he does things like a dad would, you know, shows you how to change your brakes, shows you how to change your oil, how to tie your tie, all the different types of knots for ties, things that young men should have been taught, but were a lot weren't because father wasn't there. So he's the father. That I like. You
Hmm.
know, that is really cool. Or the like what do we the tutorial type channels, the how to channels. Those are good because you could go into, well, how do I build a deck? Or, okay, my toilet stopped up. What could be wrong? Something like that. And you can help figure it out. And that's cheap for you. But then you got your misinformation out there. And that just, misinformation is, that's the double-edged sword to it.
So my current project, and then we'll wrap up for today.
Dad, how do I? That's the name of the channel.
My current project that is going to go out later today is the study of fear.
Oh.
Here's where I want to be, into the light. And as the social media is moving along, I'm finding myself here. So I know it's kind of dark and deep, but I almost called it the study of misinformation, because I just don't know what's real and what's not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
As what you're alluding to. So as we wrap up today, what's next? What do you got? What are we going to see on your channel in the next week? We'll go for Andrea first.
Oh, well, I actually want to show off some clothes, and I am going to be showing off a Shein, a little Shein haul. So that'll be coming up. I will be doing some editing after I get off of here. So it's like back to work. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's it for right now. I can cross that off of the list. Stay tuned.
Check. Okay. And what about you, Michael? What's on your what's coming up?
I got 2 things coming out. Well, one this week, which I just edited, and it's out for my members. And it's this wrap.
Holy.
Oh.
Is that Tunisian?
It's all Tunisian.
Where did you find the time?
I always have time. I'm up all the time. And the next week will be a new blanket pattern I came up with.
Let me see if I don't know how to blow you up, but well, look at the texture. I love textures.
Me too.
I do too. That's why I went with this. This took me like 2 weeks to figure out how I wanted it to look, and then once I got it, I was like, "That's it. We're doing it."
So Ola, I think, has something to show us.
Yes, I do. I am so happy for the Inspired by Grace. Blanket.
That's beautiful.
I used, you know what? Sorry, Yarn Inspirations, but I used all Red Heart yarn. Just saying. I used Red Heart.
Well, Red Heart is owned by Yarn Inspirations.
Oh, good. Well, hallelujah. But I know you can't see it, but I will have a video coming up. I'll probably take it to the beach so everybody can see this beautiful work. And yes, I did the picots.
Yes. Yeah, I always give people hate those things. I like it because if your edge is not flat, the picot can say this is intentional.
Exactly.
Now, he's going for something now.
What you got?
It's the wrap. I'm going for the wrap because I did Tunisian picot.
Oh, I hate those.
I think it looks. I like the Tunisian picot, even though it is a pain. They are a pain.
Michael.
Why do we think it picot is? I actually really like the look of a picot, but I don't consider it a pain. But people really have an adverse nature to that. Do we know why? Is it just because people want to get it over with?
I think it's one of those. I'm almost done, but I got to do a lot more work to be done. You know, you're at that 99% mark, but then it feels like you got another 100% to go because of the picot.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'm working on, thank you so much for asking. That was some shade. I'm working on Octavia. Octavia originally was a 7-legged octopus on Yarn Inspiration. So I went and looked at the reviews, but they apparently changed the pattern many years ago. So now she has 8 legs. So I'm doing a stitch along with Octavia because I have been running loose ends on Thursday nights. And
I love those.
3 of them out of the 4 have been doing amigurumi. So I'm like, because I never really do it because I have no reason. Just maybe because I don't want to sew nothing together. But so anyway, so I'm kind of working on just strengthening our amigurumi process, also strengthening the knitting, which is upsetting some people, but that's fine. Scroll on. So that's coming up with me. So Have you guys noticed that there's now courses on YouTube for your channels?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because you have courses. You went ahead and added those.
Yeah, so you just changed the playlist to a course. Just
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it took me a second because
Oh,
I want to do something like that with the beginning, like for Tunisian beginners stuff.
so I don't know if that's new. So I don't know what the long-term effect. I found Google never does anything half-assed in that sense that there's usually a future plan for something. So anyway, so then I went ahead and moved all of the stitch alongs and stuff to a course because I don't know, but you can't charge for the course, which is probably fine, but just something to look forward to.
Yes.
Well, I
So
think it's a great idea. And
I
I'm
do
glad
too.
that you did that because everything that we need is centrally located and it's right there.
Yeah. I find the hardest thing with YouTube, for example, is that they want you to change something, but then I have like a ton of videos, thousands, and so their change is really a problem when you have that much content to worry about, right?
Mm.
You have left and right, and then you have whatever the thumbnails and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I want to thank you guys for joining me this morning. This impromptu idea. I like that it was not planned. I really like you guys as hosts. I like that I can just talk to you as a human being.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Same here. You
Yes.
know, it is so cool to to talk to people that are just so laid back. You know, and that's a lot of people that I've met on YouTube. Of course, you got some that are stuckity up, but
Mhm.
you know,
But you know what I'm finding? There's people that are intentionally starting YouTube channel to make money and for fame. I've become famous in my own way, but it was never the intention. It just came, and it's not something that is my goal for that. But I seriously one day I'd like to do like a retreat or something with you guys. I think that would be kind of fun.
oh,
I
it
would
would
love
be.
that.
Yeah.
I
So
would love it. I want to go on the cruise. I really do want to go. I'll let you know in advance if I can make it. I'm trying to figure out if I can get Mr. Sailor to go. Make a long story short, he's done cruising. He's like, I've been on many ships and I don't want to go on a cruise ship. So
sure.
That's the Navy life. I see. I got fortunate. I never saw a ship in my 12
Uh,
years.
let's face it, Michael. You just want to be pampered. You want the
Oh,
cooking. You want the
yes.
cleaning. I need a. What's wrong with my hand? There's no wine in it.
hated it.
Right?
We have to come up with our own drink for a cruise one day. Like it'd have to be the crochet drink. We'll have to think about what that would be. So
Oh yes, that would
yeah,
be
we
cool.
should.
Yes, a crochet drink. We could have like a menu. How about a small menu, right? With a couple of names.
The Pico.
Oh.
And it'd be something like, it'd be like a fuzzy navel.
Oh, stop it! You just wanted to
How
use
about
that in a word.
I got one. In and
Oh.
out.
In
In and out.
Oh my god! This one crochet cruise, a few of my girls were like drinking like heavily. They were literally climbing on top of the piano bar in the lounge.
Oh,
And anyway, the security is trying to pull these guys off, and they're wearing my bloody lanyards. And I'm like, I don't care who those girls are, just get my lanyard off. Anyway, they both looked pretty rough the next day, and I'm like, "Serves you right." Yeah, I'm thinking something with slip stitching or slip, because after you've been drinking, wow,
oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, how about happy tales?
Ooh.
Oh, look how she just made the gaze all light up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the slipper hook we have. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for joining me today, and we hope you have a great day wherever it leads you today. And we'll see you online. And make sure everybody that you join their channels. Ola Joe, the Crochet Sailor, Andrea right in the
Thank
center.
you.
MDL Crochet with that, Tunisian with Michael on the one side. And of course, yeah, I'm your host, Mikey of the Crochet Crowd. Thank you so much and happy Wednesday to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is the fun part, trying to get out of this thing. Okay, keep smiling.